Everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is December 16th, 2019. And folks, you only got 9 days left to get those lists of stuff out to your family so they buy you cool stuff you want for Christmas rather than, socks or a tie or a shovel or a circular saw. Okay, circular saw would be kind of cool, but, model kits is where it's at, right? All right, so guys, we have the February kit announcements from Hasegawa. Just a few things there. They're all reissues. Some of them a little older than others in terms of like the last time they were seen out. None of them are too terribly long ago, but still some refreshing of some old decals, basically. And then we have several kit releases from overseas this week. It's mostly a Aoshima and Hasegawa party, but Tamiya stops by to drop off something. So, over at Hasegawa for February, they're going to reissue their 1992 Toyota Celica in its Safari Rally winning livery. Now, Tamiya did this kit with that Celica as well, but it's been out of production since the early 1990s. For whatever reason, that kit, probably mostly due to the fact that it is Marlboro sponsored in real life, although the Tamiya kit does provide you with that Marlboro-esque barcode thing that got put onto a lot of F1 cars in the mid-1990s to sort of imply that Marlboro was a sponsor, but not actually show it, because by that time most countries had some form of, tobacco gonna get you, a ban on actual cigarette liveries. That car, in reality, did run an actual Marlboro livery, so even the barcode thing's not actually technically correct in the Tamiya kit. I don't believe that Aoshima addresses it at all in the terms of that cigarette livery. Also, the rally itself, the placards were sponsored by Rothmans, which of course is another tobacco livery, and we've covered in the past that Hasegawa just doesn't even bother with the Rothman stuff. They'll just give you a little piece of blue sail panel. Now, there are a couple sheets of decals out there that fix those issues as far as the Marlboro liveries go. I believe, if I remember looking at my stuff correctly, Hobby Design is actually doing a whole new sheet of decals for the Tamiya kit. Theoretically speaking, they should fit the Hasegawa kit, seeing as how they're both the same car, but Hasegawa's also has always had that reputation that, especially their 90s cars, are a little undersized for 124 scale, so be that as it may, that's coming back out. And then a reissue of their 1997 Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 in its Acropolis Rally, and the Subaru Legacy in its 1994 Royal Auto Club Rally and 1995 Monte Carlo winning Rally liveries, which the kit comes with the Subaru swoosh livery, which is a little ball and then three little moons after it, which is the 555 tobacco livery as well. You have to be very, not careful, but diligent when you look up that car if you care, because some rallies it ran, it's still, even in the mid 1990s, still ran the actual 555 cigarette livery. In other places, that Subaru period colon look is the actual rally. Earlier this year, or well, this is a February 2020 kit, but earlier, actually this year, 2019, they did release their Royal Auto Club, the Rack Rally version, which correctly has the period colon, or I should say, well, bracket, technically, because a colon's a different thing. But at any rate, that does have that livery, and that livery is correct for that kit. Actually, that kit actually has, now I think of it, actually has a Rothman's livery that is just Subaru rallying instead of Rothman racing. And that is correct for that, but then Studio 27 did the follow-up decals for the which is also listed as being a rack rally, but it's actually the Rally of Great Britain, which is held in Wales. And in Wales, they apparently just didn't care as much as they did in actual UK, England, and that one did use the actual Rothman livery. So even it's like in that case, the two races on what is the same country, the United Kingdom, two different nominal countries there had two different ways the livery presented. So I'm sure that if there is a 555 livery for either one of those races, somebody who's done it in the past, be it Shunko, be it Taboo, will probably reissue their decals to fix. And then lastly, at Hasegawa is another reissue of their what they call their quarter ton 4x4 Jeep. That is their military Jeep. It's a Willys Jeep. It is a full detail kit. It's 124 scale. We most recently saw it probably 2 years ago when they did a bunch of resin girls in the eggplant girl figure sets. They did that. They did the Kubel wagon, and then I'm trying to think what the third girl was in. She was just in something non-military because Hasegawa had at one point in time planned to do a 124 scale ground attack force type, World War II, possibly beyond that, but World War II era, you know, kit series. And they did the Jeep, and there is a version of the Jeep that comes with a trailer that gets towed behind it, and then there is the Kubel wagon, which is basically a Volkswagen thing, as it was used by the military in World War II. And so they said those wild egg girls, as they were called. That's the kit I have. I'm looking at off camera. They included a resin figure, but the resin figure was sculpted to look like an anime figure. It was very cartoonish and whatnot. This is going to have a sexy blonde military girl. That's literally what the translation says. And from what I've seen of the silhouette of it, it is basically a bikini-clad girl with one of those sort of not pillbox, but necessary, but one of those folding long army hats that they used in World War II. I'm not actually sure if that's really considered a pillbox hat at that point still, but at any rate, yeah, it's basically a bikini girl with an army hat on, and that's going to be your sexy blonde girl because we are what, Brian? We are resin figuring all the things. And that covers that. So some rally reissues and another reissue. The Jeep's pretty nice. Like I said, I have the Jeep. It's full detail. They did those two kits in 124 scale. Determined, I guess, that wasn't going to work out in a, in a sales way. Nobody really wanted 124 scale military stuff, which of course is my argument about a lot of military stuff. It's like, man, I wish I would just upscale that to 124 scale because it'd be really cool. Not planes or boats or anything like that, but there are some military stuff. ICM is a great example of that. They upscaled their Tip 4 or Mercedes-Benz six-wheel thing, which is cool, but not necessarily something a lot of people probably necessarily want. And then they upscaled the Opel four-door little sedan there. I can't think what the heck the actual name of that Opel is. But there's a Packard that was used by Stalin, and there's a Mercedes-Benz limousine used by Hitler that also exist in the 135th scale line of cars. And it'd be really cool if they would upscale those two. Perhaps if you want to argue the Nazi Hitler thing, fine, whatever. But give me the Packard. The Packard would be cool. I don't think there's really been a good scale 124 scale Packard before, so we could argue the hymns are theirs of whether or not Stalin is worthy of 124 scale as well, but the Packard would at least be, I think, a pretty cool subject matter, especially for people who are, more classic car inclined. I obviously buy my fair share of JDM and race cars, but Packard would be something I would pick up. And at any rate, let's take a look at what is overseas. Like we said, it's mostly a Hasegawa and Aoshima party, but Tamiya does stop by to drop a few things off on its way to work. And we'll start there. So we have the Japanese release. This kit has been available for a couple, 3 weeks in Europe and United States. But there's always been there's that now baked in lag, if you will, that Tamiya has put in place to distribute to Tamiya Europe and Tamiya USA ahead of the Japanese distribution of the kits because, of course, Tamiya USA especially got very, very whiny at one point about 3-4 years ago that everyone was buying their kits through Hobbylink Japan and self-importing their kits from Japan, and they're losing all their money. And I've often said that I don't think Tamiya really cared where their money came from so long as they made it. And obviously you have a whole division over here you're supporting, and it was more than models, obviously, because you can buy almost any Tamiya hobby product at Hobbylink Japan. So you can buy the mini 4-wheel drives, you can buy all the tools. You can't buy the paint because that's not necessarily because you can't ship the paint overseas like that. But all of the RC cars, the 114 scale, the 110 scale stuff, all that stuff's getting sold. And so, it's more than just, oh, they didn't like the plastic model kits being sold. Now, you remember Tommy is probably the world's largest hobby company, especially at this point, and all the Hobbico doesn't exist anymore. And, they're not, oh, do they do the plastic cars and the plastic trucks and the plastic, or not plastic trucks so much, but the plastic tanks and plastic airplanes and plastic boats. But there's also that whole RC side of the business, plus all the hobby, side of the business with the paint and the tools and the glue and the panel liner and the primers and everything like that. So it's just a fact of life that if you want to buy it through Japan and continue getting that better price for the kits, you have to wait a couple extra days to get your stuff. So, at any rate, we have the distribution of Japanese distribution of the Porsche 934 Jaeger Bomb Group 4 cars. It was entered in the 1976 World Championship for Makes series, which was sort of the predecessor to the World Sports Car Prototype Series, and what we consider to be FIA WEC these days, the World Endurance Championship. The kit itself is just a straight reissue. It does come with photo etch. I saw somebody the other day incorrectly say that the photo etch was new to this. The photo etch was in it in its 2002 release, so it's not brand new photo etch. I mean, obviously it's new photo etch in the sense that it was just made, but there's nothing new about the photo etch. One thing you want to take note of is the fact that the Dunlop and the Shell liveries or logos are not included in this kit like they were originally in 1977 when this kit came out. Taboo is going to do a little fixer sheet for that as far as the decals go, so that should come out later this month. And they're also doing a fix-it sheet for the 124 scale Porsche 934s that Tamiya makes, the Jägermeister and the Valiant car, because neither one of those kits in their most recent reissue versions have the Dunlop logos, the Dunlop tire logos, or there's Shell stuff for one. I think technically the Valiant ran a different series, so it's a Michelin logos. But at any rate, they're going to do one fix-it sheet for the 112 scale car, one fix-it sheet bigger because it has two cars worth of stuff on it, one bigger 124 scale fix-it sheet to sort of catch these up and make them correct. Because again, this doesn't have any Dunlop logos on it, and it should have Dunlop tire logos, and it should have Dunlop logos on the body as well, some Shell logos. But obviously, Tamiya made a decision a while back to not license certain things, whether it's cost or just sort of a difference of philosophical nature about whether they should have to pay for stuff that was already licensed once in the past when they reissue something. I'm not getting into that, but it is missing a few things. Otherwise, it's the same. The kit came out in 1977. It's been reissued at least once before in 2002, and now you're getting another crack at it here. So, seen a few people, oh, they can do the 935. I don't have any confirmation of that, but the kit is effectively the same for the two. It's just a different body on it. The 935s were rebodied 934s. So, I mean, assuming the tooling exists for it, assuming this sells well and people demand the 935, there's always a chance of it coming back. That was reissued in 2002 as well. So, I mean, if they reissue them in pairs all the time, then I guess there's a pretty decent shot at it. The other Tamiya kit that was released this week is the 124 scale Toyota Gazoo Racing TS050 Hybrid 2019. And so what this is some cartograph decals taking another whack at this. It is the 2019 24 Hours of Le Mans livery, although the livery itself is specific to the second half of the WEC season. I think the WEC season this year had 9 or 10 races in it. Let me go look that up in the background while we sit here and discuss this. And the seventh race of the season, they changed over to the season there, the livery that's on the box art there. It's slightly different. I mean, slightly different. It's really not a whole thing where it's like, oh, wow, that is something completely different. It's like where the striping starts and ends and things of that nature. Let's see, the 2018-2019 Super Season had 8 races. Oh, okay, so basically this livery was only good for the 6 hours of Spa and the 24 hours of Le Mans. Other than that, it needs the livery from the original 24 hours of Le Mans, which was the second race of the season. So since I'm looking at it here, your 2018-2019 season was the 6 hours of Spa, the 24 hours of Le Mans, the 6 hours of Silverstone, the 6 hours of Fuji, the 6 hours of Shanghai, the 1,000 miles of Sebring, the 6 hours of Spa again, and then 24 hours of Le Mans again. The whole point of the super season is there are 4 races in the beginning of the, or it will normally be sort of the spring and summer of one year, and then the fall and winter of the next, or fall, winter one year, spring and summer of the next, however you look at it. And that's a different take. Usually the season was done from one to the other, but the whole point is they want the season to end at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And so the way to do that, since the 24 Hours of Le Mans is in June, is to wrap the season. Like if you look at this year's 2019-2020 schedule, the 6 hours of Silver, the 4 hours of Silverstone took place in September. The 6 hours of Fuji took place in October. The 4 hours of Shanghai just took place in December, and then the what was known as the Bapco 8 hours of Bahrain just took place this weekend. So are you even paying attention to WEC at this point? Did you even realize that WEC was going on? And then after that, they're gonna take a Christmas break basically, and at the end of February, they're racing at Circuit of the Americas. In March, they'll do the 1,000 miles of Sebring, which will again double that weekend where the 1,000 miles of Sebring runs on a Saturday, and then the 12 hours of Sebring for IMSA runs on the Sunday, and then you have the 6 hours of Spa and the 24 hours of Le Mans in April and June to end out this 2019-2020 schedule. And that'll be what the schedule of FIA WEC is going forward for sort of, again, it's back half of 1 year, front half of the second year. So that, again, this series will always end at your 24 hours of Le Mans. At any rate, this car, the TS050 we're actually talking about, now that we're out of race season calendars, is the same kit as the 2018. It's completely and totally identical. There's not a single shred of new parts to it because the car didn't change at all because it was within one season. Like I said, they did change the livery up in the 6 hours of Spa and the 24 hours of Le Mans, which is what you get here. It is cartograph decals this time around. Some people complained about the Tamiya Japanese decals in the 2018 car. This car is, again, not licensed by WEC, and it's not licensed by the 24 hours of Le Mans. So it's missing the total oil livery, the total oil logos for your door placards. It's missing the 24-hour logos for your door placards, and it's also missing the FIA WEC logos for the rear quarter panels that sit right there in front of the rear wheels. So again, you're going to need a filler sheet, and nobody's going to make a new one. Some people may reissue their old ones, but generally speaking, there's still plenty of them floating around out there. So Frankie did one, Blue Stuff, IndyCals, Shunko did one, Taboo did one. There's plenty of them out there to fill in those little pieces of words you need for the 24 Hours Le Mans. If you want to make this car in its 6 Hours of Spa logo, again, we make the decals to fix that as well as Taboo did. So that would be that. Let's go over to Aoshima now. Aoshima's got a number of reissues. A couple of things are legitimately like this month's stuff, and we'll cover that towards the very end of this long list of stuff. So real quick, you have the reissue of the Knight Rider kit Pontiacs. So they are the Season 1 car, the Season 4 car, as well as the Super Pursuit Mode Season 4 car. So those getting another run out. Those and the Back to the Future DeLorean seem to come out about every 6 months or so for another run. And then they reissued the special edition cars for the More Grand Champion series. Much like the Grand Champion series had 16 kits in it, the More Grand Champion kits also had 16 kits in it. They reissued the 12 that were in the 12 that were in the actual series, and now they've gone ahead and reissued the 4 special edition ones to make it a total of 16 if you were so inclined to do 16 of them. And they are the Ken and Mary Nissan Skyline 4-door, also the what they call the Japan Skyline 4-door, which is like the 1980s. Like I think it's 1982 as far as what they made. 1982 Skyline 4-door, and then you have the 130 generation Nissan Laurel and the 330 generation Nissan Gloria. So a bunch of wild, over-fendered, tiny gumball-tired cars for your enjoyment. Also, this month, got 3 straight reissues in terms of kits that are just being restocked, and they are the reissue of the Toyota Celica XX, the Mitsubishi Galant Lambada, and the first generation Toyota Soar. The one kit that has come out in Aoshima as far as stuff that is like new, if you will, to this month is the long-awaited reissue of the 1992 Range Rover. So this is certainly been a kit that I see come up as a why don't they reissue it process. Probably once every 3 months or so. Especially right now when you have Italeri kicking out all of the old Essie or uh, how was it, Italeri or was it Tallery, have kicking out the all the old SE Range Rover and Land Rover kits. So you have like the two-door Land Rover that's been reissued as the fire truck, or the fire brigade. It's not really a fire truck, I don't think. And then you have the 1980s Range Rover that SE also did, was reissued. I think once in a civilian format, and then again as a police vehicle that has 2 or 3 different police liveries in it for, of course, English police departments. And that whenever that comes up, it was like, why don't they reissue the Oshima Range Rover? I see a lot of people say the Revell Range Rover. Revell did do a version of this, Revell of Germany, in 1995, but it is Aoshima's tooling. The last time this kit was reissued was 19 years ago, so it's been a few days. The only new thing about this that they've done is they've retooled the window glass. So they've retooled all of the clear parts, but mostly it was there to retool the window glass. So hopefully a lot of the problems that people had with getting window glass was wildly not optically clear and also very fragile. People who buy original ones of these all the time complaining that their side windows are cracked and things like that from being stored and shipped over the last 20 years. Hopefully that, well, first of all, that'll all end because they're fresh pieces, but hopefully that making new ones also ends that in general. And now with the new Revell of Germany Land Rover out there, this is a very nice compliment to all 3 of them. All of the Range Rovers and Land Rovers that exist pretty much have been reissued, other than the one Italeri 2-door 109-inch wheelbase kit that basically keeps getting reissued as a military vehicle, sort of a old school technical, if you will. Don't know if that one will come back or not. It was reissued not too terribly long ago, so it'll be interesting to see if that comes back up. We'll figure that out probably come February when the Nuremberg Toy Fair takes place. That's usually when Italeri announces their 2020 stuff. We have basically about half a month before we should get the Revell of Germany 2020 stuff. If they're still going to be releasing that information on New Year's Day, we'll find out. But again, nice to have this Range Rover back. It is right-hand drive only. It is British Range Rover only. Would have been nice if they would have tooled up those parts, but I guess that probably would have actually required probably some due diligence and maybe flipping some things around in the interior, and then that starts costing too much. So the licensing for this was also a problem. It's very expensive. I don't know how expensive it is now with the fact that Range Rover and Jaguar are no longer British owned necessarily, but be that as it may, that is back out, and I'm sure probably well appreciated by some people. And that'll take us over to Hasegawa to finish out this video. We have one modified reissue, one reissue with new decals, and a couple of restocks. So over the restocks, we got some Group C stuff here. First up, the Charge Mazda 767B. This is in its Le Mans running livery in the GTP class. This is, of course, before the 787 would win the 24 Hours of Le Mans outright. However, the car was very productive in GTP. The cars, the 767s, did finish first, second, and third, sweeping the podium in GTP. This car, the 202, is the winning car that year in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And unlike the Tamiya thing, this has Dunlop tire logos and Cibi lighting and the actual 24 Hours of Le Mans placarding. So I guess Hasegawa, which is a much smaller company, probably the second largest of the big 4, they make tools. They make some various hobby sort of paraphernalia like bare metal foilish stuff and whatnot. They can clearly afford that licensing. So That is what it is. And then the other reissue is this, their version of the Sauber Mercedes C9. This is a curbside. Both the kits are curbsides, but this is a curbside. Obviously, Tommy has this full detail. I saw somebody mention when this came up recently in a Facebook group, be like, "Oh, well, the Tommy gets so much better because it's full detail." If you go on Hobbylink Japan and read the review for this kit, there's only one. It's this kit's disappointing. It doesn't have an engine. Well, it's also disappointing you didn't bother doing any research about the model you just bought. But why did you? Be that as may. Um, this is not the Le Mans livery. This is the 1,000 kilometers of Suzuka livery for the World Sports Car Prototype Series. So this livery is slightly different than the actual one that's in the Tamiya kit in the first place. Also, this does have Michelin logos and things like that. So again, somehow Hasegawa managed to license this stuff, but Tamiya doesn't. I'm not totally sure how that works. And then the modified reissue this month is this kit right here. It is the 1986 Nissan Skyline GTS-X with a whole bunch of extra words there. Read them at your leisure. This kit has basically one parts runner worth of parts. If you've gotten your Hasegawa, used to how Hasegawa does things, where the wheels are on little tiny parts runners, and so are the seats. This one is a situation where each parts runner is a seat back and front, and two of the wheels and two of the center caps. So there's new seats in here, and again, it's a two-piece seat bottom top, and then a seat back to it, and then the wheels are two pieces where the they're almost salad shooter saw blade Corvette wheels to a certain extent, and then the center cap form is separate. And they are molded in a matte sort of aluminum finish, which is how the car is. So there's bright chrome in here for the taillight buckets and headlight buckets, and that's definitely a different sheen to it. So theoretically speaking, you wouldn't really need to refinish them. Otherwise, the parts are identical. All the other sort of changes, if you will, between this kit and the 1987 Nismo Anniversary Edition are done in decaling. So that's back out there with a few new pieces for your Skyline fans like me. And then last but not least, in this week's video, we have the Hasegawa Divorce Wagon. For anybody who's watched this channel for a long time, when we talk about the Eggplant Girls things that tend to be reissued with this Type 2 Volkswagen delivery van, we like to call them the "you're gonna get in trouble with your wife" kits, because there's a bunch of really, really scantily clad women, not only all over the model itself, but all over the box art. And when you have steampunk anime schoolgirls, they can clearly fly, and so can their car. Um, the way the decals are laid out for this, they give you a lot of the gold pinstriping on the decal sheet for the Beltline decal, which is the one that comes up around the Volkswagen logo. The Volkswagen logo has a decal as well, and then goes down the side of the truck. The logo, the trim around the roof of the truck, as well as the trim that comes down the A-pillars to the bumper, they're leaving you in charge of painting that. So this is kind of going to be an interesting one to do in a uniform finish, I would say, because the decals themselves are not really gold foil. They're just not. And obviously even painting gold foil Tamiya paint or some other gold paint, unless you go into some of um, I'm not even sure that even the Alclad real colors and stuff like that is really a foil gold kind of finish. And then the front bumper, the mirrors, the wipers, the wheels, and the rear bumper, and all the door handles are plated gold. So instead of being chrome plated, it's gold plated. So that stuff really, really shiny gold, but the rest of it is not so much. So finishing differences there. It'd be very nice if it was all gold plated. I'm assuming that as far as the roof trim and the A-pillar trim, and even if you want to like the Volkswagen logo on those, I have the pickup truck version of this, not the actual sedan version of it. But I want to say that Volkswagen logo is raised a little bit. You could bare metal foil it in gold. I know bare metal foil makes a gold foil. That's always an option there. But yeah, so once you've recovered from your divorce, you can figure out how to make all your gold foil match correctly. So there is that. So Guys, that wraps up this week's video. We hope you had a great weekend. We are plunging rapidly towards the Christmas season and the end of the year. We're officially in like new territory with the videos here because last week was the 45th video of the season as far as the week-to-week stuff goes, and that is the most we have ever done. This will be the 46th, and we plan to do the 47th and the 48th on both Mondays. And then we have a couple videos that are scheduled to come out over the course of this week. They're the Inside the Stash videos where we look at like the stuff I got in. There's two of those. One I recorded back at Thanksgiving and have finally uploaded this weekend. And then another one I filmed yesterday. So that's something to look forward to later this week. They will pop up as they pop up. Like I said, they're already scheduled. They're already uploaded to YouTube. And when YouTube decides to let them go, of course I schedule them, but when they come up, you'll get a chance to watch those. And then we probably will do a video sometime around the first of the year to look at both the January kits to expect and possibly also the Revell 2020 kit releases. Revell did give out their sort of limited first quarter releases. They've done that for years and years now. And I saw some people complain, oh, this is all that we're getting out of Revell for 2020. This bankruptcies. God. It was just 5 minutes of pure insanity until enough of us who, actually pay attention to what's going on could get in there and be like, no, calm down. They've always done a bunch of reissues. There's usually one mildly modified reissue in there, and there's stuff that comes out in the first quarter and early second quarter of the year. That way, they constantly have some kits lined up to come out, and the stuff that's announced on New Year's Day, usually at midnight, is the rest of the year. Look how long it took to get the Range Rover out. It was November. It hasn't got its U.S. Reeboks as of yet. So, that was November. The Deutz Tractor has come out. We didn't really cover it here, but that came out back in like late September, early October. Most U.S. hobby shops will have that in Revell Germany boxing. I don't know if it's going to get a U.S. Rebox or not. What the Porsche Tractor did, and the Porsche Tractor said Tractor Series on the box. So maybe originally they had planned to. Have not heard one way or the other from the USA side if they plan to rebox it or not. But, the new tool stuff that Revell of Germany does always comes out towards the end of the year it's announced in, so they have to have some stuff at the beginning of the year. We haven't mentioned it because really it's nothing that hasn't been done before. Most of the things that are being reissued in Revell of Germany boxes are USA kits being reboxed for the European market. The one modified reissue this month is a version of the Citroen 2CV, not this month, but for the first quarter of 2020, is a Citroen 2CV that was done to celebrate the country of France returning to the World Cup of Soccer, or the Soccer World Cup, however you look at that, in 1983. It's a white Citroen 2CV, and it has like red and blue stripes on the side of it that sort of gradiate in and out. They go from like a red to a blue in the middle, and that's, of course, a reflection of the flag of France in the first place. And so it's going to be the 2CV with some new decals, and that's going to be it. And it's, it's kind of a neat piece, sort of the way the Sauce Aunt German specific version of the 2CV was, but it's not anything new. And so we really didn't happen to mention it. So anybody who's seen that little list of kits, please calm down and don't go running around the internet telling everyone that the Blitz sales a failure and that they're going to close the company down. Look at this little list of reissues. They've always done that. They have always done that. We talked about this in one of the last videos. We've been doing this video series for 5.5 years now. For 5.5 years, they've done that. It's nothing new. Please remove your knickers from your rear end. Anyway, guys, that does wrap this one up. We will see you guys on the other side.